Otherwise, you will be outdated. Another resource required by the entrepreneur is finance. Finance is to be sourced from the least cost source. If the cost of finance is or the cost of funds is very high, then also your product will be expensive in the market. That will drive the customers away from your product. So, efficiency orientation ultimately means the concern of the entrepreneur relating to the cost and the quality of the products. Every entrepreneur will be cost conscious. I have one of my friends as an entrepreneur. His name is Bobin Colano, and he started a company at Viridium in Thrissur to manufacture biscuits. Earlier he had another company which was manufacturing toffees. When he started this company, he used to keep a record of the cost of each raw material that went into the making of biscuits, and he monitored the cost so that the product is not expensive. So this is very important. Every entrepreneur must be cost conscious. He must be concerned about the quality of the product. Quality of the product very much depends upon the quality of the raw materials and the efficiency of the manufacturing process. So that is called efficiency orientation of an entrepreneur. Another characteristic that leads to success is information seeking. An entrepreneur should not be reluctant or egoistic to seek new information. So many developments take place in the business world related to your products with the new features may be introduced, new processing technology may be introduced in the industry. An entrepreneur should keep always his eyes, ears open to understand the trends in the market. I am told that in France, which is the world center of fashion, they predict the dress trends or fashion trends for 2 years ahead, and the textile manufacturers are given the trends of the future. So a textile manufacturer has to closely watch the changing trends in the world. One of my friends, who is managing director of Start Pipes in Thrissur, this enterprise was started by his father Paul, and when he died, the ownership passed on to two sons, and the younger son was in Dubai So in Dubai, you get an idea about changes happening in the pipe fittings field. Sitting there, using his laptop, he will be understanding what changes are taking place in the pipe fittings field, and he will be implementing the changes without loss of time in his own company. So this is exactly called information seeking. I told you about Bobin Kollanur, who started a factory to manufacture biscuits. So he wanted to produce a biscuit free of sugar. So he was not knowing the recipe for that product. So he went to CFTRI, discussed with the scientists, and finally came out with the recipe for manufacturing biscuit without sugar. That biscuit is called Lifetime, and his company is called Foster Foods. So this must be the attitude of a successful entrepreneur. He has to let out his ego and consult experts and institutions about the latest developments in his area of business. And he should also develop a network of influential people, maybe experts in the field. And if you want a loan from a financial institution to finance his working capital, you must make use of those connections to get the loan sanctioned at the best price, like that. So information seeking and tapping the networks is very important for leading a successful enterprise. Another important quality or characteristic that decides the success of an enterprise is systematic planning. See, not to plan is to plan to fail. That is what experts say. Without a proper planning, it is very difficult to succeed in a dynamic business environment. That is why these days private equities, venture capitalists, angel investors, impact investors all insist on the preparation or writing of a business plan. When will you break even? And how much will be your profit or loss 5 years down the line? How much cash profit you will be earning? Everything can be planned. See, sometimes the assumptions or presumptions may go astray. Still, it will help you a lot in running the business effectively. Successful entrepreneurs are also found assertive. They don't mind calling a spade, a spade, their feet is on the ground. They are very earthy. They are dreamers, but at the same time, their feet is on the ground. And if you expect a particular behavior from your subordinate, and if the subordinate is not performing according to your expectation, you have to tell him on his face that he is not doing well. That is called assertiveness. Entrepreneurs must be fair in their dealings, but at the same time they should be firm also. They should not tolerate mediocrity. They should encourage meritocracy. Every employee in the organization must contribute to the growth of the organization. If there are some dead woods in the organization, they should be identified, and if they don't perform well, the entrepreneur should not mind removing them from their office. Along with the assertiveness, an entrepreneur should also be persuasive. An entrepreneur should not be aggressive in his behavior, but he should use his leadership skills to persuade his subordinates and workers to contribute their best. They may not be the best in the world or best in the industry, but they should be encouraged, motivated, persuaded to put in their best to achieve the goals of the organization. In order to engage the employees with the organization, the employees should be enlightened about the purpose of the organization, the mission of the organization, and the vision of the organization. When they connected to the purpose of the organization, vision of the organization, and mission of the organization, they will get involved in the activities of the organization with great passion. Nida Nui was telling about performance with purpose. See, many workers come to the working place with their heart at home. They bring only their hands and head to the working place. And she said, I want all my workers to bring their head, heart, and hands into their work. To achieve that, see, the working environment of the organization must be very conducive and pleasant. So it is the responsibility of the entrepreneur to persuade the employees, not by command and control, but using the skills of interpersonal relationship. It is not enough that an entrepreneur is performing according to his standards. An entrepreneur is one who imposes his own standards of performance. He will be competing with his own self-imposed standards in the field of athletics, in the field of games. We can find athletes competing with their own records. So they will be setting a time clock. If you are a runner, you will be setting a time clock and you will be beating your own previous record. Eisenbiowa, the woman pole vault Olympics winner, she was in every Olympics beating her own record. Sometimes you have to beat the record of your performance of your competitor. Sometimes you have to beat your own record. My friend and entrepreneur who is the founder of Hyken, he used to say that he always wants to beat the quality standards of his inverters, his batteries, and his solar heaters. Though he has achieved a very high level of performance, he doesn't stop with that. He goes on improving his performance standards. So to thrive in the economy, thrive in the market, an entrepreneur has to go on innovating products and improving the performance of his products. And an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur, is always looking up for feedback. Feedback of how he has done in his business. Entrepreneurs use money as a measure of their performance. Money is not a goal, an end in itself. There is nothing wrong in making money. Business is not like worship. It is to make money, but that should not be the end goal. Money is used as a measure of the performance. For example, every free enterprise is measured in terms of profit it makes, turnover it achieves, net worth it creates, and capital gains it makes. These are some economic values by which the performance of an enterprise is measured. And all the successful entrepreneurs are using these criteria to measure their performance. They are using these performance as yardsticks to make corrections also. If the set goals are not achieved in relation to return on investment or some other criteria, then corrective actions must be taken. So feedback is used by the successful entrepreneurs as a measure of their performance. There is a general feeling that entrepreneurs are high risk takers. It is far from truth. If you look at good entrepreneurs who have proved their mettle, they are all moderate risk takers. Risk taking is part of doing business. It doesn't mean that you should go for high risk, which are difficult to achieve. Mind you, successful entrepreneurs are not inspired by easy reachable goals or easy reachable objectives. They give up easily because there is no challenge. Only when there is challenge and difficulty to achieve, they will be putting their hands. That doesn't mean that they will be chasing unreachable or unattainable goals. They see that the goals are achieved within a time frame with a minimum quantity of inputs. They are always, as I told earlier, driven by the achievement motivation. They are people with a high need for achievement. I know an entrepreneur who was very enthusiastic in getting orders for his machinery. He was a mosaic grinding machine manufacturer based in Coimbatore. It was their family business. They were having very good business. But what the problem with him was that he was not committed to the work contract. He will give a promise that the machinery will be delivered within 3 months or 6 months, but he never keeps his words, keeps his promise. An entrepreneur should always see that he is committed to the work contract. He has to execute what he has promised to the customers. So after some time, the orders piled up and he was not able to deliver the goods on time, and he lost his customers and he lost his business. So commitment to the work contract is a very important characteristic of a successful entrepreneur. Another major characteristic that distinguishes a successful entrepreneur and a failed entrepreneur is commitment to high quality. I told you, you should not be satisfied with the average quality of the products. Competition is very acute in the market. Every entrepreneur is looking ahead. They always anticipate competition to come. And to face competition, you have to go on improving the quality of your product. A builder will be always trying to improve the quality of the building, the construction he is handing over to your customers, because the customer's opinion is very important for the success of the entrepreneur. If the word goes that the building materials of a particular builder is not up to the mark or of inferior quality, naturally, when you offer another project, housing project, there will not be many takers for your offer, because promises are to be complied with or delivered. So your passion for or your obsession for high quality is a major determinant of your success as a business protagonist. Another major characteristic associated with the success of an enterprise is tolerance for ambiguity and uncertainty. A successful entrepreneur doesn't want all the situations to be structured precisely. That is not possible. They tolerate ambiguity and uncertainty. It is said that we are living in a VUCA world. VUCA world means volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. VUCA. So everything cannot be, as I already said, structured or planned. Some of the assumptions may be changed in the journey. So if you are a successful entrepreneur, you will not be disturbed by the uncertainty or ambiguity in your business. You will be, as I already mentioned, watching the changes taking place in the market with regard to technology, with regard to the customer tastes and preferences and choices. If you take the case of Hindustan Liver, Procter and Gamble, and other FMCG companies, which are in the consumer, in the manufacture and marketing of consumables. See, they have been manufacturing and selling traditional products in various categories: healthcare, personal care, then fabric care, like that. Here, Patanjali, the company promoted by Ramdev, they found a gap. They found an opportunity. They thought of introducing a category of consumables which was not catered by these leading multinational companies. They introduced Ayurvedic products which are of high quality and affordable price.